From my experience in the Catholic Church, I believe that the liturgical music should be used as a tool to create a greater sense of unity and community among the parishioners. For the music to be an effective bonding tool, I think that the music should not try to be as beautiful. By this I mean removing all the different background melodies and voices in the songs, and focusing on homophonic singing involving everyone in the church. From my understanding, the Catholic Church's goal is to come together as a community to worship the Lord. It is not just about experiencing the religion, but becoming part of the community. I think that this is evident by the rituals they practice, like encouraging baptism, communion, confession, and clergy participation, like altar and choir service. In this way, I believe that only experiencing the religion is insufficient, and that contribution and inclusion are vital to the Church. Now, applying this ideology to liturgical music would result in more simplified but less beautiful music. While less beautiful music may disappoint some, I think the sense of unity among the parishioners would make up for that disappointment, as well as better align the service with its religious goals. This clash between the beauty of liturgical music and the purpose of the service has come up in class when we learned about the Catholic Church trying to get rid of polyphony in Palestrina's works. It was only after he proved that many voices in his songs would not be too distracting from the message of the music that the Church allowed it. In his extreme focus on the beauty and message of his music, I think he overlooked the key element of congregational participation. Listening to the music of great composers is certainly spiritual, but in an individual way. The best way I can explain this would be comparing saying the Lord's Prayer in church with the whole congregation to listening to Catholic music in the Sistine Chapel through my earphones. There's a certain amount of organization and togetherness when reciting the Lord's Prayer as a congregation, and by extension, singing in church together, that is simply not there only listening to the music. While everyone in class was listening to the same thing at the same time in such a sacred place, we all still had our own individual thoughts about the experience, with no real guidance to them, nor any cohesion. We were not necessarily experiencing the same thing as a class, but only interpreting our own ideas of our spirituality. I think this further undermines the sense of community that should be present in the Church. To expand on that, I would contrast my visits to St. Peter's Basilica with my visit to St. Francis of Assisi. While Mass with the Pope was definitely a spiritual experience, it felt more like watching a play rather than a Mass. There was only scripted congregation participation, and not many people sang along with the choir. This could have been because people were too caught up in listening to the beautiful music, or because people did not want to ruin the perfect harmony that the choir had with their own voices. Nevertheless, this still drew a divide between the clergy and the congregation. This disconnect made me feel like I was part of an audience watching a papal performance rather than an actual Mass. On the other hand, St. Francis of Assisi had the most congregational participation of any of the field studies I went on. The Mass was much more spiritual because there was a greater connection with the clergy, choir, and congregation. Nearly everyone sang along to the songs, and there's a strong sense of community among everyone inside. I think this is the type of religious connection churches should strive for, and it is the essence of the Catholic religion itself.